Well, morning everybody. Thank you all for coming down, and thank you guys for taking your time out to join this live podcast. Damo especially, we appreciate the fact you're even here. We're unsure whether you're going to show up this morning. I know you're here in body, but not in soul, maybe.
It was a busy night last night.
It was a busy. It was sideways at 7 o'clock when I saw it. But no, really appreciate your time. So what I'm going to do now is just talk about some of the topics in the industry. You know, some of the challenges I think, not as us as manufacturers, but what you as installers face, going out in the marketplace. So I think the best thing to do, sort of, for people who may not necessarily know, a little bit about your background. So Damon, what's your background? Where did you come from?
I left school.
Well done, congratulations.
Graphic design, and then left, went straight army. Then I left and went to. I went to work in a bank. I went to civil law. And then I just got an apprenticeship with council.
The fact that you did law is probably the most entertaining thing I've ever heard of here, which, you know, learn you.
So that helps him out with his contracts, doesn't it?
Yeah, all those customers, yeah. Sorry.
15 years with council, and then went self-employed 4 years ago, and then just kind of moved fast.
So you've got a bit of a varied background. It's not like it's been in your in your blood forever. You sort of took a journey of other career paths before you found your life in what is now renewables and heating, really, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah. So Pointy, look at him. This is his stage, isn't it?
Did you know on the big screen?
You're on as well, like a child. So take that pop off him. So Pointy, what? Come on now. We've got some time restrictions here.
Okay,
so what's your background, Matt? How did you start in the industry?
I mean, it was 10 years ago, basically. I was on a bit of a rough road, shall we say. Hundreds of different jobs that I've been through in my life so far, lots of different experiences. But then I just decided to turn it all round. I fell into the trade almost with some local firm that was, looking for someone to help out. They took me on for full central heating jobs, and then put myself through night school, did night school plumbing, night school gas, got qualified, and then went on my own 6 years ago, basically. So from there, it's just been harder and faster and more busy.
So again, not really something that you chose as a career path, but as say you fell into it.
No, I was a chef when I left school. That's what I started.
They always say you can trust a fat chef. That's what I always say when I'm cooking.
Easy. You can tell I've left the chef. But no, I mean, anybody that's worked in the service industry knows that it is not a longevity lifestyle. It is such hard work, mentally, physically, emotionally. It's non-stop all the time.
Yeah.
And I think you start to lead that life a bit too much. And even though plumbing and running your own business self-employed is really hard work, it's nothing compared to what you do in a kitchen for a lot less money.
I can imagine. And Grandad, you weren't meant to be, so you've been drafted right at the last minute. We didn't want to see you sitting over there on your own.
No, I'm glad you asked me to come on.
No, and so you're still relatively raw in the industry, still what we class as a greenhorn. But what's your career path to an officer? You started off young, so.
So I left school, went straight into college. I was doing landscaping originally, just to have a bit of money, a bit of pocket money. And then once I come out of college, after the 3 years, thought I'd come out and knew everything because I passed. And it took me about 2 years to actually find a job in plumbing, and I eventually met Pointy through a family friend.
Poor guy.
Yeah. And then it went downhill ever since then.
I mean, I think the one burning question from anybody, and Dan knows his experience Pointy for the last 5 minutes, how do you put up with him and his energy and just his noise? Does he ever switch off?
No, definitely doesn't.
I mean, unfortunately, Pointy actually moved to close to where I live, and our children go to the same school. And I absolutely know the day that Pointy's picking up his son, because the noise across the car park is just.
I never see him at school times because he always hides from me. You can hear me coming from.
I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who's hiding from
you. You definitely hear him before you see him.
You do.
I can always find a parking space. That's all I care about. Clear the way.
So we've all got sort of varied backgrounds, but obviously, there's challenging times with the industry and cost of living. But so, Damon, for yourself, the past 12 months, how's it been for you in your business? I know you sort of going two different directions to what Pointy does, but how's it been for you in the last few years?
Yeah, it's just been crazy, making transition from gas to renewables. I've been blessed that I didn't have a big background with gas customers, so I was able to leave them as such, and focus more on heat pumps. But yeah, it's learning longer hours, and more time invested in people, trying to make them transition. It's a lot of money to spend.
I think, certainly from some of the conversations that you and I have had previously, it's the job of the gas installers where heat pumps are, because of the length of the job, it's the pricing, you're running the whole project. Whereas we used to work off a rule of thumb for a gas installer, it's now design, install, build. It's the whole shebang, isn't it?
You've got your DNO, electric side of it, you've got your planning, you've got there's so much that goes into it. It's like not like a one-man job no more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, no, I get that. And Pointy, for yourself, obviously, you know, you're a local plumber. I see you around the village all the time, and also normally an NKM taking over the trade council and stuff. So, the last 12 months, has it been good? Has it been difficult? Has it been challenging? Or
I think the start of the year, strangely, due to the boiler tax, as we heard it was called, actually saw a lot more boiler installations earlier on in the year than I think we've ever seen. I think the fear mongering actually worked the opposite way around in this account. It's like, oh blimey, the prices are getting higher, we better get it done now before it gets even more expensive. Year on year, the average boiler install goes up about £500 alone, just on materials, let alone our labour, which probably in most instances hasn't gone up in about 4 years. So yeah, it's been quite a busy day, a busy start to the year rather. But then there's a lot of people not moving house. There's a lot of renovations going on, huge amounts of home improvements. So there's a few builders that we work for that I know plumbers working with builders, they're actually all right guys, and they keep us very busy during the summer months as well. So it's not slowed down. We're still waiting for the April lull, to be honest. You know?
Yeah. But and another thing for probably both of you guys as well is the callbacks, isn't it? You know, when once you've done a job, you get a phone call, this isn't working, or I've got a leak, or this, and this. You know, you guys don't get paid for that. It almost comes out of your time when it's, you know, a product fault or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this has always been a question in the industry. It's like people are always quoting these warranties. Oh, we'll give you 10 years cover, 12 years cover, but no one says, but we'll pay you to go and change it. You know, we'll give you an hour's slot out of your day to lose money and go and do it. So it's a bit of a weird one. A lot of the times we end up just taking the hit, fitting the new part, and getting it done.
Is that a slide that us manufacturers, is it?
I think it's, sort of. I mean, to be honest, Altecnic products never go wrong.
Of course they don't, man. Of course they don't.
To be honest, I don't think they actually do. But no, I mean, it is something. It's all well and good selling these products with these warranties, but you know, we still have to go through the legwork of getting it, changing it, sending it back, whatever. And no one thinks about those. It's hundreds of pounds a year.
From both your aspects, how do you think that can change? From us as a manufacturer perspective, if you're getting called, I mean, how do we address that situation? Because it is coming out of your
just manufacturing, isn't it? Usually, if it's a failure or installer,
just get error back there.
Zone valves are a big one. We only was
massive.
Got
one leaking already. Only went in 2 years ago. Still works at least. But no, I think. I mean, what would you say, Grandad? If you know you've worked with me long enough now. If you were to say,
you can tell, look at his face.
I know, yeah.
It's broken.
For example, like, I mean, I know, you know, I fit Baxi boilers, and one of the reasons I started fitting them so many years ago was because of that aftercare, that reliability. If there's a problem with their product, they send someone out. It's next day, it's done. And I think there's a lot that people, any manufacturer, whether it be TRVs to, you know, boilers or anything, could learn from that. To be like, well, not necessarily boots on the ground, but some kind of aftercare plan that will look after the installers if we're registered with them.
And I suppose the issue being, heat pumps or boilers, they're big ticket items, so it's probably easier for a manufacturer to send out. They'll have a service division for a heat pump or for a boiler, whereas if you're a component manufacturer, you know, if you were to say, you say no, a 20 quid TRV is leaking, it's, you know, towards your responsibility. I guess there's conversations to be had.
There should be options though.
I mean,
we're always going to take the hit on the labour because it's our customer, it's our reputation at the end of the day. We've chosen that product to fit in someone's house, so it's our problem for fitting it. But we should still be getting looked after by the manufacturers to say, look, just let us know, we'll send you a new one. You know, and that's it. That's what it needs to be.
And that's when you build that relationship though, isn't it?
Exactly. Because you're going to be more inclined to buy it.
So, hot topic for Trends Renewables. Damo, I'll come to you first. You've made the transition. You and I have done a podcast on this previously about the transition from gas to renewables. How is that going for you? I don't know. You're very big on social media. You do. You featured on was it the Grand Designs magazine you featured not too long ago as well? You look really enthused to be in that picture as well, to be honest. So how is it going for that switch from gas to renewables? Is it doing well?
Yeah, it's a big step. You've got a lot more time invested. You've got a lot of training. And everything's got to be right, you know, from specification to design, it's got to be like bang on, you've got no play through to be wrong, so it's wrong. You're getting big bills and you're getting called out.
There is no rule of thumb.
No, you've got to get it right. So I set off and try and think what my way of thinking is right, and luckily at the minute I'm able to pick and choose what work. That one, I'm going like all over country.
Because I remember one of the things that you said to me previously when we spoke was about sort of quoting stages. I said, you don't get paid for that, do you? You have to try and factor in for that because it takes up so much of your time at the moment that because it was gas, it was rural, and it's like, okay, you've got 8 rads, you've got this, we'll put this board and whatever else. You can't do that, and your time for that is.
Yeah, there's no rule of thumb for it. So aid loss, which is a paid survey now, that starts at like 350 minimum. Your time, there's so much time you invest. I found myself getting people like hours and hours and then not getting anything at the end of the week. You can spend like 2 days quoting, talking to people and then with nothing to show for it. So you have to get like processes in place to protect yourself.
And it is that time, and the one thing that we don't have these days is time, isn't it? It's so difficult. And Pointy, if you obviously you said you fit backseat boilers, and I know that you've been working in my house previously, but will you ever make the transition to renewables? Is it something you look at or thinking about?
Yeah, so, well, coming out of lockdown, all the talk of the town was heat pumps, heat pumps, heat pumps. And so I actually paid for myself to go on a training course, just at a training centre, stayed away, 3-day training course. So on paper, I'm actually qualified to fit heat pumps. I've never looked into or tried to ever get anywhere near one for the sheer fact of what you're struggling with, Damo, as a day-to-day operation of the quoting, the specking, the checking you're allowed to do it. There's a lot of umbrella firms starting up now which could go one way or the other. We saw the Green Deal, umbrella firms taking all the money off the government and doing a terrible job. But, again, backseat, just to bring that, I know, I'm backseat through and through, I always have been, I probably always will be. They've got a great heat pump offering, and the more I speak to them, the more they're looking to try and support the installer, not just with what you need to fit, but with all of the customer complaints handling procedure, the Trustmark accreditation, all the things that would take a back office team or us as sole traders hours and days to sort out. A bit more assistance to get the products into people's houses because the government wants us to fit them, the manufacturers want us to buy them, but there's so little assistance to make it happen. For me to go from fitting boilers, doing plumbing, to do it tomorrow,
so it's almost a different business model.
It's completely different, yeah.
And for you, Grandad, someone who's still relatively green to the industry, do you have interest in renewables? Is it something you'd like to expand your knowledge on, or are you happy working in the gas world? Or
I'm definitely interested in it, 100%, because at the end of the day, it's the future, and the future's coming fast. So
whether we like it or not.
Yeah, whether we like it or not. But for us, we get asked by customers a lot about renewables and stuff like that, air source heat pumps, but we don't really fit them. We don't. There's not really many occasions where we can fit one.
Yeah, I don't think it's something you just pick up and do, is it? Damo, you'll know more than anybody. There's so much you have to change your business model, the way you set up, you use all that sort of stuff, and the training.
It's more about the houses as well. I mean, I'm in North Worcester, South Birmingham area. The housing stock in that area hasn't got a cylinder cupboard. It hasn't got room for a buffer tank. It hasn't got room outside for the heat pump. It hasn't got the power capabilities. There's a lot of overhead power cables in our local area. They won't be able to run a heat pump, let alone a street of heat pumps. So there's that task that we're getting. People ask us the question, I'm like, where do you want to put it? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, what?
So you're saying that about housing stock, and obviously, Damo, you've now got the experience. What are the biggest barriers you think in install? And this will be a question for both you on renewables and on gas. But what at the minute, what are your biggest barriers? What are the biggest things, challenges that you come up against that not prevent you, but hinder you in your installs? Is it legislation? Is it?
Yeah, I think the planning, DNO, and money. £7,500 still not a lot for people. Average installs probably like 18,000–19,000, so £10,000
And do you have to lay out up front for the equipment as well, or is it something that you work with your customer, say, look, I need so much up front to buy the kit?
Do a deposit, and then depending on situation, I'll have the claim bus grant back, or I'll get it off them, and then depending on how project's going.
Because that's a big outlay as well,
you've got 4 jobs going on, you could be £30,000.
It's not a casino for you, isn't it? What it was last time, too soon, sorry. I went too spoke too wide. And for you, what barriers do you come up against, Paul? Apart from your personality, which, people shut the door.
To the Eskimos, all like that. No, I think it is very similar to Damo. I mean, you know, I would love to make the job. You know, there is so much work out there in the renewables market, but the costings to the customer, the responsibility that we as installers have to take on. If we don't get those grants in time, we don't get the job finished and signed off in time, we take the hit. So the average Joe installer, boilers, all day long, happy days, that's £7,500 out of your annual profit or your pocket because you've not been able to get the paperwork done. With all due respect to most plumbers and heating guys, we're not academics, most of us. You know, we're practical, we can figure stuff out, we make it work, and it does. When it comes to admin, it's certainly my weakest point, you know, and the admin side of it is where we need to really work on the industry, because, you know, we didn't go into plumbing and gas to do paperwork. We went in to do pipe work.
Because you couldn't do paperwork.
Exactly, exactly. But this is it. I mean, I feel like the first manufacturer to bridge that gap between boiler installer to heat pump, it's the same stuff. It's a box on the wall, it's pipes on the floor, and some radiators are on the floor heating. It's the same stuff. The only thing that's different is the cost and the admin. Once a manufacturer takes that by the bullhorns, they are going to dominate the market.
What e-geek are doing.
And I think the heating model is doing that, is making that transition. I know you do quite a lot with heat geek and Adam and heat geek leads and, you know, all that sort of stuff. But I think that having people like that within the industry, someone who's coming from not a manufacturer's perspective, although now they are starting to produce their own cylinders, etc. You know, to get a very, but someone who's prepared to take the ball by the horns and link those two together, I think is probably what we need, and obviously heat geek leading that. And it's going to take a lot to catch up.
Oh yeah, definitely.
To be done right as well, not just chucking them in.
And I think what's really good about heat geek now is the fact that it's, I'm sitting obviously in the plumbers, have no affiliation with them, but it's almost become an industry standard to look at what heat geek do. And I've done some of the heat geek courses, and most of the guys that I know and work with done some of the heat geek courses. It's almost become industry recognised to be a heat geek elite or whatever it may be.
Look at the performance of what you're doing with that best returns on scalps and COPs in the industry.
And I suppose that leads on nicely to the next question about regulations, building standards, Part L, all that sort of stuff. How easy is it to keep up with that? How easy is it to adapt your installs to the changes? How well is it regulated? You know, if you don't install to the most recent regulations, you know, do you get held to account? You know, what's the
it's not well regulated. You know, your G3 or whatever is you're self-certifying. That's what you're doing. So it's down on the installer to do it. Then it goes on what you like as an installer. You're doing it right. You're signing out yourself. There's plenty out there that don't. Kind of unregulated.
So it's there in paper, but in reality.
If you think you've done a good job and you sign it off to say you have, doesn't mean you have.
No, well, no.
Or even, and again, it's the same thing with gas though. You know, gas safe. There's no one checking up on you. It's ethical. That's all it is. It's a qualification, yes. It's something to fall back on, yes. It's just a piece of paper. Well, it was fine when I was there. I was lagged when I left it.
Towel-like guarantee.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean. So there needs to be, like you say, more regulation. There needs to be more checkups. There needs to be more focus on the quality control.
To wean out the bad.
Of course, because there's always going to be categories and there's always going to be professionals. And the problem is the professionals, especially in this new wild west of heat pumps, they're going to start suffering to people that have got the back office, they've got the admin staff, and they're just going to send out whoever they like as a subby to go and sling a box on the wall and say it's fine, and there we go, you know.
And for you, Grandad, someone who's relatively new, do you get taught a lot about regulations? Is it something that you have to keep in the back of your mind, or do you just do what this man tells you for a quiet line?
To be fair, whenever I hear about regulations, I hear it off policy straight away. Which we do.
Has anyone in a 3 mile radius?
Yes, basically, But we do keep on top of our regulations quite a bit, to be fair. But that's because we have to. It's regulation. We've got
it's trying to keep on top of it all, isn't it?
It is, because there's so many regulations to keep on top of already, and it's just there's just more regulations coming out.
Reputation.
I guess a big part of it as well is training. You know, we'll talk about training on products, you know, with heat pump manufacturers, with valve manufacturers, but there's also a job to do, I think, on updates and changes and all that sort of stuff. You know, because you guys, if you don't hear about it, you know, by mistake, you never hear about it. It's difficult, isn't it? And it's only going to impact on you, isn't it?
We get daily emails from about 30 different people. All based on, have you seen, did you know, today in the news?
Well, at which point you switch on, because you've got so many on.
Yeah, I think there needs to be some kind of central hub that really is just like, you're signing, we know who you are, we know what's relevant, we know what you need to know based on your job role, and we can keep you up to date. But then, to be fair, I think manufacturers as a whole are doing a great job with the use of, with the use of social media especially, because they're using influencers or content creators that people see, that people hear, that people read about or watch, to get this information out there in a more light-hearted manner, but the facts are still the same. Polypipe, for example, doing their question of regs earlier this year, when the Part L changes came out, it was a bit of a joke. It was, you know, very tongue-in-cheek, but it got the questions out there. It brought attention to the changes. I think the more manufacturers get hold of that idea, that concept, it's going to be a lot easier to keep up to date.
There's certainly a lot going on. I think for whether you're renewables or whether you're gas, there's a lot to think about, isn't there? So, last part, something that's very close to my heart, and something that's not always easy to talk about, is mental health within our industry. And I think you guys, you spend a lot of time working alone. I think Grandad wish you could spend probably more time working alone, having to sit in the van with you. But how do you deal with the loneliness? But you know, it must have a big impact on how you are, the stress, the anxiety. You know, how do you deal with that?
To be fair, I enjoy being on my own, so it's like that. But yeah, it does. Long days I do struggle. Sometimes a bit too much. Like late nights, getting in, doing 12-hour day, getting in then quoting, invoicing up to like 3-4 o'clock.
And I think we all know people who struggle, don't we? And it's, you know, some people don't know. I'm happy to talk about my experiences with mental health, but Pointy, yourself, how do you? You're a jovial guy, but I mean, deep down, is there times when you get lonely? Or?
I mean, there's times I get stressed. I think there's moments where I know that I enjoy being the person everyone sees me being. You know,
I would never have thought you enjoyed it.
No. And I am that person, but Grandad is definitely my support animal. You know, I'm allowed to take him on planes.
Uppers and downers.
But no, in all seriousness, I mean, you know, we're both normal people. We both have hardships. We both have good times and bad times. And I think the biggest difficulty that people have, like you say, is not having someone to vent to, or someone to say, you know, get over it, and, you know, come on, we've got bigger things to deal with, which Grandad does for me a lot. I've done for Grandad a lot. You know, but I've been to therapy as well, you know, and I think there's nothing to be shy about with saying you want to speak to someone, because people automatically hear the word therapy and they go, oh, depressed. It's not that. I actually went to therapy because I thought I was dealing with anxiety. I didn't know what I was anxious about. And it turns out I just needed to have a chat to someone that hadn't got a clue what was going on, and would just listen and go, well, have you thought of this? I'm like, no, I haven't actually. You know,
coping mechanisms.
This is it. So as I say, you know, when people start dealing with things themselves on their own, if we knew the answers, we wouldn't have a problem. Right, so you need to ask someone else, because you've obviously not solved it yet.
Actually, and Grandad's someone from the younger generation, you're a different generation to me, and you know, how do you deal with it? You know, is it something that you see in you and your group of friends, or something you experience through work, or is it not something that you've ever really experienced?
I mean, when I first started with Pointy, I mean, it was sort of like, we didn't really know each other that well anyway. So
you got to know him pretty quick.
Yeah, I got to know him pretty quick eventually. But it was also knowing that sort of we could open up to each other, you know, because it would affect work as well. And it took me a while to realise that I could actually tell him if I was upset about something at home or whatever. And usually it'd come out at work, because it would just build up, I'd bottle it up, and I'd end up just exploding at work. And he'd tell me, just go and have 5 minutes in the van, and then he'd give me 5 minutes or whatever, go have a drink or something like that.
And there's a
come back and talk about it.
And there's a cliche right now, it's okay not to be okay, and it's and both of those are so true.
And that's the hardest thing. People find it so hard to talk. It took me a long time to talk about just little things. As soon as I got it off my chest, talk to someone about it. Pointy's been, I mean, me and Pointy, we see more of each other than we do our own families.
That can't be easy, mate. You deserve a merit award on your own.
I took on qualified plumber.
But just finally, we've got a minute or so left. But you know, we talk about the merit awards. When we see some of the awards we get at the start of groups getting together to deal with, you know, the Warriors Award and the other guys. You know, Damon, you and I are in a couple of WhatsApp groups, and I don't think they necessarily help anyone's mental health, some of the stuff that goes through. But I think our industry is very good at supporting each other. We can be quite vicious at times, and I think there's not enough, but I think we are very good has been a support network, aren't we, for some of the stuff that goes on? And do you see that?
Everyone goes through the same stuff,
Yeah.
so you can relate to each other. You know, it's like this. It's nice to come away, get away from that work, and
Yeah,
like-minded people, and it helps.
Yeah,
you know, just having a chat about something not to do with work.
Yeah, yeah. And everyone's there talking points. You know, you see, you do a lot with truck
I do a lot of
racing. You know,
talking,
you do. He's an MC for truck racing, believe it or not. It's, you can never imagine it. Could you?
The British Truck Racing Championships, but I do other events as well. I mean, obviously got Plumber
This is your time
Social.
to plug it now. God, you've got 30
This is the time.
seconds.
30 seconds. So yeah, I mean, obviously off the back of Installer Show, I do the Plumber Social. Hashtag Installer Social. Obviously we have it at the Custard Factory. It'll be tonight at 7. Just bring your pass. We've got some drinks. We've got some pizza coming. You know, there's a free raffle. Bring your business card. We've got some amazing prizes from some brilliant sponsors. Yeah, and it's just, I do that. I don't make any money from it. It's just the fact that I realise that you've got the merit awards, you've got the invite only, you've got the ambassador meals and things like that, but there was nothing out there for the other 20,000 people that come to the show to feel part of something. And I felt like there was a gap in the market there, that people just want to feel like they're part of a gang off Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And I was like, well, here it is. Doesn't matter who you are, who you know, what manufacturer you use. Just come along, have a drink, hang out, you know.
I suppose the burning question is, Damon, will you make it tonight?
No, I'm not sure.
Look at that. Well, listen, gents, we're out of time. And thank you so much for taking your time out today to come and have a chat with us, Damon. You're an absolute legend. Thank you for turning up. I didn't think you would.
I know.
And thank you everyone for listening. Thanks very much.